The NFL has expanded its international series to include London and Frankfurt, Germany locations. So it's constantly expanding. And combined with the European League of Football, it seems that the rumors about, an NFL team or even an NFL conference coming to Europe, that might be true pretty soon. It might be true sooner than later, I guess is what I'm really trying to say. So my question on this topic would be, can the NFL survive and even thrive overseas? And Evan, I mean, I feel like you're the perfect person to ask this question to, being that you've been on both sides. What do you think?
Man, honestly, I don't think so. I mean, I think it would bring a lot of excitement and everything to Europe. I mean, the fans would go crazy. It would be very exciting, but logistically, uh,
It's a
it
nightmare,
would be a
right?
nightmare. You're talking about, the players, the NFLPA, the Players Association, they're going to have some say so. Hey, we don't want our guys over there. If one of our guys unfortunately gets in trouble, we're talking about an American in jail, the lawyers having to represent them from the States coming over here. It's a lot of logistical issues. Players with families don't want to put their kids in German school. So and then the money part of it, I'm going to get taxed by Germany and I'm going to be taxed by the States. Nah, that ain't happening, partner. I mean, the things that I think about as a coach, or I'm sure players would think about. It's a lot of, I'm gonna say, behind door, like closed conversations that would have to happen. But I mean, things that people probably don't even think about
I
personally
think
that you gotta take
I agree
into
with you a hundred
consideration.
percent. I think that's why I said you're the perfect person to have on for this because I mean I'm in Europe, so obviously talk to a lot of Europeans, and with the ELF having what is considered success, people constantly bring this up. And I'm an American, and everything you named, that's what Americans think about. First of all, do I even want to live in Europe? Like coming straight from an American point of view, it ain't better. Like there's no like if not to get too crude, as an NFL player, no. If I'm an import or a college person, yeah, Europe is an experience. But if I'm making NFL money, there's no reason for me to live in Europe and not have the luxury and option of things that I'm accustomed to and put a strain on my life, my family, or anything. But where it gets tricky is, like you said, NFLPA, oh, they're gonna have some things to say, and there's only so much you get away with. But we all know that there's one thing the NFL does. It gets what it wants. Ever since the merger of AFL and NFL, the NFL has been able to get what it wants eventually, no matter what happens. There's a situation of throwing out the whole Colin Kaepernick situation. That went, Colin Kaepernick got paid billions, but the NFL's legacy lost nothing. Like we're
Hmm.
still watching all the games. There might be people kneeling or something. No one cares anymore.
Hmm.
Like they always get
Hmm.
over it. And I think at some point in the future, that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna banish an NFL team to Europe, and it's gonna be, oh my gosh, it's gonna be, everyone's gonna be talking about it for a certain amount of time. And then eventually, that's just the way it is. That's same like when you have teams that relocate in the States, you know, uh, it was a huge situation with, the Rams going to LA, going back to LA, leaving St. Louis. I think the city of St. Louis sued the Rams at that time.
Hmm.
Same
Hmm.
thing with the Raiders leaving, deciding to go to Las Vegas. There's always turmoil when it first happens, but it happens. If the NFL say it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I think that's probably the only way it happens if there's a team in Europe, is that the NFL is like, hey, we're all in on this. This works for
Hmm.
us. And then from that point on, it just depends on how many people are gonna, basically complain about it for a certain amount of time before we all move on. Because I think right now the NFL doesn't want to do that. They just want to go get the
Hmm.
money from Europe, make as
I
much
think if
money as you
anything,
can.
yeah, and And I think if anything, you'll see maybe a resurgence of NFL Europe. The NFL Europe, it cost the league millions and millions of dollars to keep that thing running. Um, Again, from a franchise, like a physical NFL franchise being over here, I mean, I just don't see it happening. If it happens, maybe it's a 1 year thing, but you'll hear the players complain, and then when they get killed in free agency because no one wants to move their family up
No
there,
one's gonna go
it's like
there.
it's like, nah, I'm good. I mean, if I go play in Jacksonville, if I okay, Jacksonville or Frankfurt, Germany, I can play in Jacksonville. My wife might love it. It's Florida, and I can build a house in Florida. I go to Germany. I'm not building a house in Germany. Why would I want to go there? You know what I mean? Like I know a lot of the guys who come here and play for us in Dallas, a lot of them end up staying and building their retirement homes here. And they might be playing in Arizona, but their family are here in Dallas because they love Dallas, they love Texas, you know. So
Yep.
you
I mean,
just
and
won't
the taxes in Texas, that's basically there's no state tax, so that's definitely better. Anywhere they
exactly.
go in Europe is going to cost more, most likely. I think
Hmm.
I mean, we'll stick to the whole like the player situations. If you're playing in one of those places, even if you live there, there's always the option, the off season, you're most likely don't have to live there. You're not forced
Hmm.
there, and you can go live somewhere else part time, and it's not a huge burden to have two
No doubt.
locations. But if you're living in Europe, like you're not once you get over there, I mean, you don't want to be renting an apartment in Europe for however long the
Hmm.
football season is, and then going back to the States for a few months. I guess
Hmm.
all the OTAs and stuff would still have to be in the States, most likely, at some location. So even a team would have to have two locations, like a US and a European location to have. It just doesn't make sense at
And you
all.
you you know how it is, even with trying to acquire a field for practice for a team over there in Europe. So you're talking about they're probably not going to try to share the facilities, even if it's an NFL team trying to get
Especially
practice facility
think
or
about the
grass time.
what if they're playing soccer during that like NFL season time, like the real season? Like, don't they play
Hmm.
soccer that time too? Like,
Yeah.
you're always going to be. I mean, I think the amount of money that would need to be made is we're not even close to that amount yet.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
I don't know how it would get close to that amount, but once it becomes like, oh, well, that's an extra $15 billion a year if we put a team over there. Oh, it's gonna happen. They're gonna do it. There's no stopping that. But if
Hmm.
it's like, oh, we can get an extra billion, the league is like, it's not worth all the trouble. We're not gonna,
Hmm.
no. But once they put enough money out there, I think it definitely would be worth it. But I
Because
don't see how that money would ever happen.
yeah, I mean, because you got to remember, I mean, just for us here at AT&T Stadium, like we have a partnership with the Big 12 where, because we own that stadium, we have other events. So our owner, he's either going to have to buy and build another stadium in Europe, or he's just going to have to rent the stadium from the major soccer teams
That don't make any sense
for
financially.
half the season.
Yeah, like why would
So,
you rent when you can own? Like why would you rent when you can own? Just like a house. Like the teams would be going through the same thing the players would be going through. Like, why would I rent in Europe when I can own in the States? And I don't have to compete against another sport that's more popular and is going to be able to bring in more
mhm,
revenue for other people. That makes me lesser than. Like in the States, you kind of can do it wherever you want to.